Hi, in this video, I'm going to be going through the Earthworld map version 0.9.2 in Unreal Engine 5.0.3, and I'm going to be focusing on the country fills, and this is in the Earthworld map Daylight 16K virtual textured map. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to go ahead and hide these outlines. I'm going to hide the internal border fills as well. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these country fills. So Germany, you can see it's a static mesh. And if I fly down, I'm just going to press, it doesn't seem like the hotkeys are working. So what I'm going to do is come down here and go ahead and say unlit. We can see the simple texture there. If I go to wireframe, this is the nature of the geometry. So it is flat. This is completely flat. But if we go ahead and I'll press Alt C, we can see there are some collisions, and what I'll do is just go ahead and go to lit and bring up the Germany. So we can see the collisions in brown there for Germany. So it spans across, given the convex collisions that are currently implemented here. So it's not perfect, just to be aware of that. Additionally, there are side walls. You can see they're quite short, and the UV is stretched down the side walls currently. So when I go ahead and hide this, we'll see that the backing plane is this ocean floor, and that's why it's a little lower res than what we have here. I'll turn off the collisions just so it's a little easier to see. And put Germany back in its place. So the Germany mesh here is, by default, has this Earth Surface Master Instance 16K VT material. I'm just going to open that material instance up. You can see there's a collection of materials that are already compatible with this scene. So this is the default, and this has been applied to all the country and internal border meshes. So if I make any changes to this one currently, it will affect all of those meshes. Now, for instance, if I do want to quickly just go ahead and get a different look, I can drag on one of these different materials, and you can see it will create that different appearance that I've dialed in here. Alternatively, I could choose that one and have this one and maybe this one. Okay, I'm just going to go have a look at this master instance now by double clicking it. Okay, so here's the master instance material, and we're going to get a view so I can see Germany. And by default, we have this land flat color, and that has an intensity of about 50%, and the normal map has been flattened by 50%. So these are the default settings. So just to illustrate what's happening, I'll go ahead and set my land flat color intensity to 1. So this is 100%. We can see that all of the meshes have this material currently applied. So they all have their flat color now. And I can change this color to something else that I like. Now, if I don't, if I want Germany to look different, I can drag this material on, right? Or I can, I can't seem to undo that. That's strange. So I'll cancel that. And what I'll do is just go and drag this one back on. And what I'm going to do now is drop this down to 0% so that we see this is the base texture. And I'll put this back to 1 so that we can see this normal flatness. And what this is doing is flattening the normal map. So if I put this to 1, this completely flattens the normal map. So there is no visible normal. All right, and if I put it to 0, it's going to give me 100% rendition of the normal map. And if I put this to a minus value, it's actually going to multiply the intensity of the normal map. All right, so I'll just put this back to 0.5, so I've half flattened the normal map, if you will. Now the next thing, so these are, I'm just going to revert these to their default. So the next thing is the surface lights color. You can see this is the default color and the default intensity, and we can see those if in the viewport I press Control L and drop the sun down, and we can see them come up. So if I want, for instance, to press Control L, drop the sun down, and I might want to change the color. I think I don't like that color. Maybe I want something that's a little bit more blue. Say OK, and perhaps I want this to be more amped up. I can increase the intensity, and so it looks like so. Cool. You can see I can still drag my other material onto this country, and I get the color lights from the original, from this setup. Okay, so I'm just going to revert those back and bring my sun back up by pressing Control L. Okay. The next one to do is look at this water flat color. And in the water, we have the color, which is not really visible here, but it's referring to the watercolor in this case, not of the ocean that we have here, but these inland water bodies. So at the moment, if I go and change this, it doesn't really look like much is changing. And that's because this water flat color intensity is not being increased. So this is still 0% of this color. But as I bring this up, you'll see that start to impact the scene. So if I put it to 1, it'll be 100%. And obviously if I put in a high value, like 50, it'll over crank and it'll look like all the world is filled with lava in its lakes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cool things down a bit. And we'll just actually go ahead and look at the shyness or the specularity and the roughness. So over here we can see the reflection of the clouds. That is because there's plenty of shininess, if you will, or specularity. But if you want to roll that off, you can do that with this one. And if you want to have the roughness increased, then you can blur those reflections, right? And it'll be very flat looking at a value of 1. So you can see like so. Maybe if I drop this down, I'll just leave those as they are rather than get carried away with them any more than I have already. So I'll turn those off. All right, the next one to look at is the country borders. So again, I have the color and the intensity here. And so I need to actually put the intensity up to 1. And so this is a texture option for the country borders. There is also the mesh country borders. So it depends on how you want to use it in your project. But with the country borders, you can change the color here and say that you want red country borders and you want it to be more intense. And these will probably pop a little bit more if I drop the sun down. So we see something like that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and now just turn on the internal borders as well. And this is the texture version of the internal borders. So I'll give this a value of 1. And we can see that's getting quite busy. I might just raise the sun up so we have a little less to focus on right now. But these are the 16K texture maps of the country borders and the internal borders. So if you'd like to, implement them along this way, you can do that. Otherwise, you can use meshes. All right, I will return those to how they were. Turn them off. Next one is if you want to do a stylized appearance, you can do things like give metallic properties to the surface. You can see it's going to look a lot more like a metal surface. Change the way the reflections are processed. Okay, I'll put that back to 0. And then there are a couple of extended features down here, just for which features can be disabled in the material. Okay, so with that overview done, maybe I want to make a custom material that is derived from this master instance. So what I'm going to do is just close this. I'll right click on this master instance and say create material instance. And I want this to be, let's say, MI country highlight. So maybe with this one, I'm going to go double click on it. And we can see that the parent is the master or the master instance. So that's good. I'm going to change the flat color to be a red or kind of an orange yellow. Increase the intensity to 0.8. And so I can actually see this as I'm developing. I'll just go ahead and put it on here. So that's a little bit too intense. Maybe I'll drop it down to something like that. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and put on the country borders and give them intensity of 1 or 5. I can save that, close that, and now I can just, if I want to have multiple countries that fall under that grouping, add it like so. And I can add as many materials like this as desired, and I can also follow a similar process if I'm using, well, an identical process if I'm going to be using the internal border fills. Okay, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, please let me know.